Now, as well as debuting the production version of the EV4 and the PV5, they are also showing this, the EV2 Concept. Boy, these little fellas have been busy. Welcome to this week's edition of Sneak Peeks, welcome to the new Kia EV2 Concept, and as always, welcome to AutoEV. Now, before I get started on this episode of Sneak Peeks, it would be remiss of me not to remind you just to make sure that you are subscribed to the AutoEV channel. Then once you've done that, make sure you then press the little bell button that's down below, because that's the way you'll receive a notification when the next video is uploaded and it's gone live. Once you watch the video, if you enjoy it, and obviously I hope you do, then make sure you give a little thumbs up, and of course, as always, don't forget, leave us your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about the cars that we feature on the channel, such as the EV2 Concept, and of course, on the AutoEV channel as a whole. Now, the Kia EV3 has been a very popular car. It's been a very popular review on AutoEV, but there has been a lot of people sort of like saying, oh Brian, have you got this right? Because you kept saying it was a B segment SUV. That was what Kia told us at the time we were there at the launch of the car, but of course now they're saying this is a B segment SUV. I think what they're just trying to do is just trying to spread themselves right across every single marketplace and make sure there is something for everyone, in fairness. And obviously you know about the size of the EV4. It's not quite a C-sector hatchback, it's a little bit bigger, but that's the market it's aiming at. So yeah, Kia blurring lines, shall we suggest. But there's no doubt about it, this car is designed to take on the likes of, you know, the new Fiat Grande Panda, the Jeep Avenger, you know, the Peugeot E2008 Vauxhall Mokka, those style of cars, Citroen EC3, because it is a very important marketplace. And of course, it's an area that Kia in the electric world aren't really playing in at the moment in some respects. The EV3 is there at the bottom end, but this is going to sort of like go from there down in some respects. Now, this is a concept car, but the production car is due to reach, due to reach our street in 2026, they tell us. And I think it could be next year's hottest little star, just like the EV3 was back in 2024. But this is going to give us a few clues to what we should expect from that EV2. So, shall we take a quick look around it and see what we think? Why not? Now, as always, we start with styling. Now, just a little caveat here. If you do hear a lot of noise in the background, it's just I'm here on a media day. So some of the UK guys were here earlier this week. I couldn't make it. I've flown out a bit later, so I'm here with some of the Europeans, and they're a bit noisier. They're over the other side of the curtain, so apologies on that. Right, let's talk about the design of the car. So, Kia, opposites united, that's their design language, isn't it? And we've seen it all through their other cars. But this isn't just a miniaturized EV3, is it? You know, it does have its own style. And whilst I appreciate it's a concept, you know, Kia's concepts do tend to sort of like follow the theme through. We do tend to see that concept in the production reality. We did with the EV9. I don't see any reason why we won't here. It's a very boxy little car. That's what I like about it. Very sort of like straight-edged, very boxy, which is good for space, because obviously the best thing to carry stuff in is a box. But you still get the signature Kia design language, you know, the vertically stacked headlights, the star map DRLs, digital tiger face, as they call it at the front, your big bold Kia logo there. I do like this, the fact the EV2 logo is just embossed down in that lower splitter. Whether that sees production or not, I don't know, but I hope it does. But of course, you've got, as I say, all these nice clamshell kind of bonnet, these straight edges along there, you know, the contrast in the materials. A lot of recycled materials, because Kia's big on sustainability, as we know. So again, there's a lot of talk of sustainability in its construction and its whole life costs in terms of environmental costs. That's important to them as well. There's a little bit of Fiat Grande Panda in the overall look of the car. Do you know what I mean? That sort of straight-edged and boxy look. But is it just me, or do you see elements of the Rivian, the American Rivian R1T at the front there? Because I do. Anyway, let's take a look around the rest of it, because we don't have much time. Right, because it's a concept and they've got the doors open on that side, I'm not allowed to close them because it's quite fragile. I'm not allowed to get in it, as you'd expect. So I'll talk you around this side, so apologise, that's a curtain over there. But I just want you to have a look at the design of the side of the car here, because it's very, the glass house, the wheel arches, they're very geometric, I think. Gives it a real sort of like purposeful stance. You know what I mean? It's that sort of, whilst as I say, it's quite a small car when you get up next to it. It's chunky. It's a chunky little monkey, and I do like it. I tell you what, I think if the production one comes out of this is one of the best looking B-sector SUVs that we've seen. Contrast again, like you've got at the front, so you've got the cladding round the side, down the bottom of the doors there, around the back wheel arches there. There's no point talking about the fact it's sitting on 20-inch wheels here, because I doubt we'll see a production version on 20-inch wheels, but hey, if you do, fantastic. Look at this wraparound glass house though. So you've got this visor graphic with the glazing that goes round, and again, just again the way it splits the bodywork, and this lovely, it's a beautiful shade of blue this actually, it's really nice. Mirrors. Mirrors, none of your silly camera stuff. Look, mirrors, thank you Kia. And they put the side repeaters on the top, which is quite cool as well. Charging flap would appear that it's going to be here, so we can expect it to be on sort of like the side fender. And then of course, you know, the battery pack will be like the skateboard platform that we're used to seeing. Now, let's go around the back, because I think they've made a real change with these rear lights, and I want you to have a look at these. Because I really like their positioning. Because on the other cars, the EV3 and obviously the EV9, they're quite up high. Whereas here, they've dropped them, and it gives the car a really distinctive little bump. And I really like it. I say really like a lot, don't I? It's a bit like I always say, kinda. But anyway, it's the Star Map DRL lighting signature that we've seen on other Kias, but I like the fact that they've dropped them down, and I say it gives the car its own sort of like unique signature, its own unique design. They do seem to be following Hyundai in some respects, you know, where they've got the pieces of the chessboard, but they're all their own individual players, that style of thing, but they're more harmonious than Hyundai, where you've got that bitmap styling of Ioniq 5, and of course your sort of like streamliner Ioniq 6. And they don't really share any commonality in the design. The Kias do, but as I say, you're not going to look at this and go, that's an EV3. You won't mistake it for an EV3. It looks different. And of course, its compact nature really plays to that. It's a very upright rear end to the car as well, and this nice sort of like elongated roof spoiler here with a high mounted brake light there. So you can expect things such as, you know, cameras tucked underneath here. I really hope we see a rear wiper, Kia. I really hope we do, because it's an upright rear end and it'll need it. But yeah, overall, great looking little car. As I say, I appreciate it's a concept car, but this is going to become a production reality in a year's time. I love it, but do you? Because you're the important people out there. And as I say, this is an important sector. 1 in 5, remember, new cars sold in Europe today is a B segment SUV. Would this tempt you away from a Ford Puma or a Renault 4? Because that's going to be a big player when it comes to the market this year, and I'm going to be driving that car soon. What do you think? As always, let us know in the comment section down below. Now, I'm not going to talk about practicality, because it's got a boot, but we can't get into it, and obviously it's not representative of what the car is about. It's a concept. Let's talk about the interior of the car, because again, I can see a lot of this design element reaching production. The dashboard, for instance, it's a very simple, these screens that we see here, although it's a continuous screen, it's pretty much what we've got in production Kias. So that's obviously something that's going to happen, I would suggest. They've made a huge thing about, as I say, sustainability in terms of the materials that they've used. Mushrooms have been used. Not while they were designing it, they weren't on mushrooms while they were designing it, although they could have been. But some of the materials, it's a biometric style of material, you know, that they've used in terms of that, because mushrooms, you put it with something else, seemingly it fuses particles and creates a very, so it's basically farming waste that they're using to create new materials. And that's what I love about Kia. They're really thinking outside the box. They really do. And like the production cars, you get this little QR code on the door. So if you scan that, it tells you all about the materials that they've used in the car. There's also this really cool sort of like inlay across the dashboard that's got some ambient lighting in it. And they were saying that they did this using offcuts of old leather. So they're thinking about their old cars, you know, that have gone to scrap or whatever. How can they reuse them? And what they're doing is they're stripping the leather, shredding it, and again compressing it with different materials to make a new material that you can use on veneers. Who knew? Brilliant. They talk about the car being sort of like a picnic theme. There is a slide out drawer here that you can pop a little stool cushion on, so you can sit and have a picnic. And the whole space inside, these detachable backrests from the seats, which again are 3D printed. So again, they're looking at ways to keep costs down. They're looking at new production methods. And I think that's key with concept cars. A lot of people, we used to see concepts and we'll say, oh, it's a flight of fancy, it'll never make production. These days, it's a trial for if new materials can be used. And I think stuff like 3D printing, you know, agricultural waste, these sort of like recycled offcuts of leather, things like that, that's important if we're going to think about how the world's going to change and how the automotive industry can help change it. So I applaud Kia for doing that. But look, it's going to be a spacious little car inside. As I say, you've got quite a box. You know, you've got a rear seat that's probably going to have space for 2, 3, a bench across. This one's also got a bench in the front with its slides, they tell us. It's probably going to be 2 individual seats with like a centre armrest, you know, that silly table on it and things like that. But nice use of colours, nice use of lighting, but it's the use of materials that impresses me. Oh, and I wouldn't expect to see these rear hinge doors either. I don't think they'll see production. It'll be a conventional forward hinge door. But if it's got the level of space that this car seems to show as a concept. Now, there's no official talk of battery sizes, range, anything like that in a concept. Let's be honest, it's a concept. They could say it has a range of a gazillion miles. It doesn't really matter. But if we were to think about it, the production car will be an eGMP platform car, so it shows the flexibility of that eGMP platform. 400 volt though, not 800 volt. You won't get 800 volt architecture in a car this small because it'll follow EV3 as being a 400 volt car, okay? But I would suggest a battery size is somewhere early 50 kilowatt hours for a range of around about 250 to 260 miles, given the efficiency that we normally expect from Kia. Interestingly as well, I noticed in the press pack for the PV5 van, there's a 43.3, I think it is, 43.3 kilowatt hour battery. So maybe that might be added to the car to give around about a 200 mile range or sub 200 mile range as a price point car, you know, maybe, and we'll talk about price in a second. So maybe you might see that sort of thing where you've got a sort of one more aimed at the urban commute and a slightly longer range car with that maybe 50 odd kilowatt hour battery. Do you need any more than that? Possibly not. If you think about the cars this will compete with, then obviously they're all round about that sort of size of battery and that sort of range. But Kia's not one to shy away from offering a bigger range, a bigger battery on some cars, as we've seen with the EV3. So let's not count our chickens, but that's my guesstimate. Certainly a battery around about 50 to 53 kilowatt hours for a 250 mile, 260 mile range, but I do think there's a possibility they'll add another one in to give you a real price sort of like conscious car with this round about a 200 mile range as well. So it's the same with price, like range. We could say it's got a gazillion miles of range. I could tell you it's going to be £19.95 and you can order it off Amazon. Let's be honest, it's a concept. I could tell you what I like. But the reality is this, where do I see a price point being? I think you've got to be thinking round about the £30,000 bracket. Now I think there will be a car under that, personally. I think there will be a very competitive, as I say, price-led car. So as I say, whether they do introduce a small battery option, maybe later on, maybe at the start, somewhere maybe around about the 26, 27, £28,000 bracket, that's where I can see it. However, I do see sort of like higher battery, sort of bigger battery, higher trim grades eking into the 30,000s because that's where your EV3 range starts. And that's what Kia seem to be doing. They seem to be spreading everything out so there's something available for everyone. So you have the choice then of, dare I suggest, a sort of high spec, EV2, or you go into sort of like quite a basic EV3 Air for the same money, but get more space in a bigger car, but maybe less equipment. So I think that's what Kia are doing. So as I say, I think if you've got £30,000 as sort of like, you know, your sort of like your base point, and then I think it can either go more or less depending on battery and range that's available on the car. But that's where I see it. And then of course we're going to talk about competition, and that's where the majority of the competition are going to be. So competition. I've literally got 6 minutes left of my time slot, and it would take me more than 6 minutes to list every car in the B segment SUV sort of like market space. But here's the ones to really think about. Obviously now that is, you know, Fiat and Vauxhall are playing in terms of, sort of, you know, with cars in this sector now, such as the Grande Panda, Vauxhall Frontera, and that's a real price conscious car. Citroën as well with the new EC3. That's a car I'm going to be driving in a couple of weeks' time as well in the UK. Those are the type of cars you're looking at competition for. The Renault 4, you know, another B segment sort of SUV style of car. Looks a little bit bigger than this, but as I say, we're talking of a concept against production reality. But you know, that's a bit pricier than this car. Jeep Avenger, Fiat 600e, you know the score, you know what cars are out there, but when this hits the market, those are the cars that it's going to be competing very strongly against. And given that it's a Kia, it will compete very strongly against those cars, I think. So there we go. Not exactly a flight of fancy, this EV2 concept, more a statement of intent, because they say we've seen it with Kia before. As I say, whenever they show a concept, you can pretty much guarantee the production version is going to follow and follow very closely. They did it with EV3, they did it with EV9, and of course we know the success that they've got in the electric car market. Kia's meteoric rise is documented far and wide, and we're big fans of the brand on the channel, but they've got to get it right. Don't get me wrong, this is such an important marketplace that they're going to step into with this car. If they cock it up, then obviously people will just walk away from it, but I don't think they will. They haven't done, and we've seen the success so far. You know, even going back to things like the original Soul EV, you know, 10 years ago that car came out, the Kia e-Niro, what a great all-rounder. And then of course the real stuff started to happen with EV6, EV9, and of course we've seen very recently with EV3. EV4 shows massive potential in that market space, and if EV2 comes out doing exactly the same thing, then believe me, Kia are very much cementing themselves as the force to be reckoned with within the electric car world. Thank you for watching yet another edition of Sneak Peeks on AutoEV. As always, please make sure you are subscribed to the AutoEV channel. Then once you've done that, make sure you press the little bell button that's down below, because that's the way you'll be notified when the next video is uploaded and it's gone live. If you've watched this really quick walk around of this car, then please give a little thumbs up. And of course, don't forget, leave me your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about the EV2 concept. I'm sure you will. Now remember, we're across on all social media as well, so Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, so please give us a follow there as well. That would be appreciated. And remember, if you're in the marketplace for an electric car, maybe you're not looking at a new, you know, flight of fancy EV2 concept, but you might be thinking about a used e-Niro. There's a car for you. Good value for money, that car. How are you going to find out about it? Well, stick on the AutoEV YouTube channel, and at the top there's a magnifying glass. If you type the name of the car you're interested in there, if it's been a new electric car in the UK in the last 5 or 6 years, then of course we've subjected it to the road test, the actual car buyers trust when it comes to choosing their next electric vehicle. And that, folks, is the AutoEV one. Thanks again for watching. Thank you for your continued support. I'll see you again soon.